Welcome to episode 3 of Reverse the Relapse. Today we are talking about a super juicy topic. It's one of my favorites around your identity. So my question to you is, do you still feel fat? You're in the right place if you're ready to stop the sabotage and weight regain post-weight loss surgery and start losing again. Hi, I'm Georgie Beams. I'm a psychologist who specializes in the area of emotional eating, sabotage, and weight regain for weight loss surgery patients. I work both in a weight loss surgery clinic as well as supporting women online to reverse the relapse. I honestly believe that psychology should be a mandatory part of everyone's weight loss surgery journey. Your body has had an upgrade to version 2.0 after surgery, but your mind has been operating at version 1.0. You're here to update your mind to match your body and get back on your weight loss path, and I'm here to help you. Okay, so let's talk all things identity. Like I said, it's a really, really powerful topic. So it's very common for me to see patients who have lost 30, 40, 50, even more kilos, and they still feel fat. So they look in the mirror and nothing has changed. And I want to ask you, is this the same for you? I had a patient that I saw a few weeks ago that had lost around 65 kilos, which was amazing. But in her head, she still had this old version 1 script going on that, she saw herself as, being unchanged, and she felt disappointed because she thought that after the surgery, she would actually feel better about herself. And this is really important to know that, and we've all been there, right? Whether that's through surgery or through dieting, any time that you have made a change to your external appearance, we have often assumed that we will actually feel better about ourselves. So we will actually feel how we look. And in fact, it's the other way around. Your body follows your mind. So if you still have an old fat identity, okay, so if your identity hasn't been updated, you haven't had the reboot, you've got the new version 2 body, but your identity is version 1, and we'll talk about what that means shortly, it's just a matter of time until your body follows your mind, which means you'll be engaged in weight regain and it will keep creeping up and up and up and up, which is obviously, what we don't want to happen. And we'll talk about that today on how to prevent that happening. And a big part of that is updating and upgrading your identity to match your new body. So a fat identity looks like feelings of disappointment or frustration if your weight has plateaued. I see many patients that are disappointed in slower results. And this, of course, can lead to huge sabotage because there's kind of this whole internal dialogue and script around, like, why bother? I may as well just eat and, stay in this sort of sabotage mode and put back on the weight because, whatever I do, it doesn't matter anyway. Or feeling frustrated around weight plateauing or weight regain. You might be feeling ashamed or embarrassed. So even though you may have been quite private in terms of sharing your weight loss surgery journey, everyone has noticed that you have lost a significant amount of weight. Everyone has commented, maybe even still commenting. But what happens is when we have put on weight and we've regained that weight, those compliments can start to dry up. And all of a sudden we can avoid social situations because we feel ashamed and embarrassed about the weight regain. You might feel like a failure. And let's be honest, failure is a theme when it comes to weight loss in general. And so to get to the point of weight loss surgery, you would have been at your heaviest weight, which means that you have probably, spent years yo-yoing with diets and with your weight. You're probably feeling like a failure then. So imagine then having surgery and investing, everything into it, not just the money, but also the time and all that work, and, emotionally and psychologically, everything you've invested, and then to feel like a failure again, right? And that can keep you in that sabotage mode. Fat identity can also look like giving up and looking for workarounds, looking at how you can cheat the surgery, right? We need to really get real about that. And episode 2 is a great one around taking full responsibility and stop looking for ways to cheat and all those workarounds and coming from a place of change. It can look like sabotage and where you can't maintain consistent habits. I hear this a lot with patients. So it's almost like I can be good for 2 days and then the third day is the one that I always regress back, or I'm good from Monday to Friday, but it's the weekends. Yeah. These are all indicators that you may have a fat identity and it needs an upgrade and it needs a reboot, because otherwise your body will just follow your mind. Now, you must shift your identity at a subconscious level, okay, from fat to slim. So I see so many patients where after surgery, there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of adjustments with your behavior and creating these, good habits, etc. But the thing is, in time, if you don't actually change your identity to match your body, so if you don't have a version 2 identity, which is that of a successful slim person, doesn't matter what daily habits or daily behaviors you put into place, your identity is far more powerful and will trump all of that, right? And you've probably noticed that maybe, when you first started off, you had all these amazing habits and doing all these healthy behaviors and it just felt really good and easy. And none of those old eating habits were in place, right? And then as time has moved on, maybe you're a year out, maybe you're 8 months, maybe you're 3 years out from surgery. But then we start to see that we can't maintain those habits and behaviors because your identity has taken over. Now, you need to shift it at a subconscious level. So when you just shift your habits and behaviors, that's actually occurring at a conscious level. That's only 10% of who we are. So imagine, that iceberg analogy. I know we've all seen it. That is where 10% of us is above the surface. It's our conscious mind. When you had weight loss surgery, it was actually connecting to that conscious mind. It's 10% of who you are. Anytime that you diet, it's 10% of who you are. Anytime you put into place any of these daily habits and behaviors, is 10% of who you are. However, let's talk about that 90% that's otherwise submerged out of our conscious awareness. That is our subconscious mind. Anytime that you engage in emotional eating or any form of sabotage or weight regain, it is happening at a subconscious level that is underneath the surface, it's hidden, it's submerged, and it's 90% of who you are. And that is where your identity lives. So it must be shifted at that subconscious level. You can't just look in the mirror and just tell yourself that you are slim and successful and, upgrade your mind in that way. That is only dealing with our conscious mind, the 10%. It has to happen below the level. So let's just test it out, right? So what I want you to do is close your eyes, and obviously don't do this if you're driving. Feel free to pull over or do this at another point in time. But I want you to think about a worst case scenario, okay? So let's just imagine that you stay where perhaps your weight has plateaued, and let's imagine that your weight, starts to increase. Let's imagine that maybe your weight has increased and it keeps going, because this is the thing about weight regain. I say to many women, what happens if you don't take action now? What does it look like in 12 months for you? And they often say, oh, well, I'll just be exactly where I am. I'll be unchanged. And I say, wrong. Unfortunately, you'll be worse off, because the thing is, when you're on this weight trajectory, and I know you don't want to hear this, but sometimes, I just want to be really honest with you. We need to hear it. We might not want to hear it, but we need to hear it, is that, if you've put on, say, 3 kilos in the last 6 months, well, the next 6 months is going to look like another 3 kilos. So that's going to be 6 kilos in total. And then what does that look like another 6 months from there, etc.? Like, it just keeps going up and up and up. It never just stays the same. So I want you to really close your eyes and imagine that worst case scenario of being on that weight regain trajectory, the weight's coming back on, etc. You've had the surgery, you are sabotaging it, you are undoing all of your good work. You're back to your fat clothes, no more shopping in and wearing those amazing clothes that you've been wearing. The compliments all dry up. Okay? I'm trying to stir up this stuff in you. And if it's stirring up stuff, this means that you have a version 1 fat identity, right? Now I want you to see if there's an image that matches those feelings. So image that matches, this staying on this trajectory. And if you're like most patients, that image will be the same, if not similar, to your heaviest weight pre-surgery. So I want you to think about that, right? Now, what this means is if you have an image of you with a worst case scenario where you're either as you are now or put on a lot of weight, start to really be on that regain trajectory, our subconscious mind sees images. So this means that your identity is this image, and this is what we need to shift. So this is incredibly important, and let me just finish up by sharing a client case study with you. So I saw this client and she had been on and off diets. She was at her heaviest weight pre-surgery, and she was around 140-ish kilos. Anyway, she all went well after the surgery, the weight loss, the health benefits, etc. Now, what she noticed is that anytime she got close to 100 kilos, sabotage would kick in and the number on the scales would start to creep up. And so she came to see me and we had a number of sessions, and essentially we did that same exercise, and in her mind it was the exact image of her at her heaviest weight pre-surgery. And the narrative behind that is that she had never been under 100 kilos before. So she was saying, well, who am I to be under 100 kilos because I have never been there. It's unfamiliar. I don't know myself below 100 kilos. I'm the big one. I don't know who else to be. And so that was her identity that she was holding on to. So essentially, because that was in her mind, in her subconscious, and again, if you've got images where you have any weight regain in your worst case scenario, that is an indication of where your identity is at. And so we were able to shift her identity. So then she was able to get under that big milestone for her. So this is really important work. And it's really important to know that our identity is so incredibly powerful. So what I want you to do is think about what are some of your stories that you're telling yourself, okay? Because if I was asking you, I was trying to stir up some stuff in you to see what information might be there, see what feelings might be in you, and see what images might be matching those feelings. If your identity was 2.0 of a slim, successful person after weight loss surgery, you would have said to me, Georgie, there's nothing there. I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no feelings. I'm all good here, right? That means your identity is at version 2.0. If there was any internal discomfort or the images were old images of you pre-surgery, your identity is version 1.0 and needs to be shifted so your body does not follow your mind. So your takeaway transformation is to think about this question, okay? What's the story you're telling yourself that keeps you trapped in the old fat identity? Okay, so a bit like that patient that I shared with you, her story was around, I don't know who I am under 100 kilos. I'm always the big one. I don't know where I fit in. I don't know how I belong. I don't know how to interact in the world. So I want you to think about what story are you telling yourself that keeps you trapped in that old fat identity? So please share with me on Instagram. Feel free to tag me in post or stories and let me know what comes up for you. And my Instagram account is foodfreedom_. So I hope you have found this to be really valuable. And if you have, I'd be so grateful if you can help me to share this message and help other weight loss surgery patients just like you to reverse the relapse. And the best way to do this is to share a positive 5-star review, which would be much appreciated. So if you want more daily transformation tips for post weight loss surgery patients, then please come and connect on Instagram. If you also want more information around identity, I have a free training that I would suggest that you sign up to learn more about this area and how to shift it. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next episode.